kind of unstable emotionally, a little bit vulnerable, or it's not repressing or anything. It's just about creating space in there, releasing the tension that's causing the contraction. So Laura, you might try this on your contraction places that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so bring your feet back together and bring your hands to Namaste. You're gonna send it up, 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 up like an arrow. We call these arrow squats. So your toes, bring your hands down. Feel the hip stretch, and then we come back up. Reaching, reaching up and a little bit back like a yoga stretch, and then down. Breathe out. Feel as if the energy comes up from the earth, up through your center line, out through the top of your head, way out into space. And then back down. A really nice one to do to feel kind of that nice stretch. Okay. Just to kind of stay in stance. Okay. Is that okay, Lauren?
Yeah, I'm remembering. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can see my feet or not. I can't see yours.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. Let me go back a little bit more. Maybe the light helps. Okay, so here's straight, right? Feet straight. Here's triangle. So it's just a little swivel. You're just swiveling triangle to triangle. Now, once you get the feel of that, just kind of flow. Feel your feet just turning you from left to middle to right. Left to middle to right, right to middle to left. Just feel the bottoms of your feet. It helps when you have socks on or a mat under your feet instead of a rug. Okay. Everybody feel getting kind of a little bit more comfortable with the hami, the triangle? All right. Now, that's pretty easy, right? Now that you're getting the hang of it. Now the idea is to stay perfectly centered. So when you turn, you don't let your weight shift out. Or when you turn, it stays back. You want to have your feet equally distributing your weight. And you're just rotating around your own center line. And your feet stay 50-50 weighted. And so check every now and then, am I in front of myself? It was like that homework we did last week. Am I grounded in myself or am I out of myself? So we can say the same about center. Am I out there or am I in myself? Am I back here or am I in? So center is another way of saying you're aligned with yourself. So it doesn't just have a physical meaning, it has a psychological or moral meaning. You have integrity. You don't lie about yourself. You speak plainly. You know, that's all kind of being centered, being comfortable with yourself. So just check that. First, we feel it in the physical way. When we're aligned with ourself or our center, we feel more solidity, more certainty, you could say. At least I'm clear about what I feel or what I know. So we get more courage from that. You see how that's derived? We don't have courage when we're living in some kind of an idea about ourselves that isn't grounded in any kind of reality. Okay, we'll work more on this. I want to use some other things, but something to think about and play with when you're, it is our homework. I'm doing it again. I just changed the words a little bit. Let's see, I'm gonna share my screen. You have to able me, Sneha, to share. What are all those little notes there, Laura?
Oh, those are all my stuff for school
Oh.
papers.
Can I share now? Oh,
Yes.
great. Thank you. All right. Okay. So this is basically what I'm talking about, just practicing in a physical, energetic way, but it does have a psychological effect. The more centered we are in ourself, the more courage we have, the more confidence we have, the more solidity we feel about who we are in the world. And the world is shaky and scary sometimes, but you always have this centered, solid place inside to rely on. Okay? So anyway, that's the homework. I'm not going to read it, but you can see I just changed the words from last week a bit to make it more of a centering practice than grounding practice. Okay. So this is my little, I got this off the internet. It comes from Barbara Brennan's work on, do you know Barbara Brennan? She did, she was pretty famous, I guess, in the 90s, 80s and 90s. She has these great books. I think they're in my other room. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's different. I liked it because it's different. You can see the auras of these figures. They're all kind of these different ways that we're uncentered. Okay, uncentered people get mentally ill. You live a long time not connected to anything real, or you were wounded terribly as a child, you live in a fairyland, or you live in a false self, you could say. I like to just use plain words like balanced or unbalanced, because normal people get out of center too and get kind of a little bit, we have times where we feel crazy or we don't feel real or something. So at times we lose our balance. What do? Okay, learning about our patterns, it's important to know we have a certain pattern. We're kind of a consistent person. If you're born kind of a more Vata kind of person, then your pattern would be something like withdrawal. Okay, withdrawal is a form of escaping, right? We're running away from life. Hysteria, we kind of go emotionally crazy and you just scream and holler, right? Everybody, I mean, I've experienced that. Boundary containment, being too tight, too contained, too kind of can't, people like that, you're trying to make a connection with them and they just give you monosyllabic answers about everything. Yep, nope, right? You can't seem to get through their shell. So anyway, you guys can think about and look at these. So we learn about our patterns.
What was that word you used, SueAnn?
Monosyllabic.
Yeah.
One syllable answers. Like you ask somebody, you're trying to like get a conversation going, they say no.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I have a few frustrating people like that in my life.
As I answer with one word.
Contained. They don't share anything. You can't get a flow going. Then you have, this one's interesting, power will display. People who bullies like. Bullies, you just feel crushed by them when you're around them, or you feel inferior. You just feel, just noticing that, not just in yourself, what your patterns are, but what other people's patterns are. And you can, you guys are psychologists, some of you, so you know what I'm talking about. You probably experience it with clients, oral sucking, people who are very needy. you know, and they want you to fill them up. Or you're feeling needy and you want someone to fill you up. You know, we have all these things, but one of them, or maybe a couple, would be very familiar. So we notice with our minds. So noticing means noticing, observing doesn't mean judging, but that's what the mind will want to do. So catch yourself with judging and just notice, just be open to whatever's real, whatever's true. When we have our center, it's okay. You don't have to run away from our flaws. Everybody has them. So our heart accepts, has compassion for ourselves when we see that we're not perfect, or we have, you know, things that really are kind of difficult to accept about ourselves. And then we ground ourselves in the present, in the gut center. Because like the gut being grounded, we can accept more easily. We can observe more easily from a stable base of our gut center. So that's kind of this idea of we have, all of us, all humans, until we're enlightened, I guess, a tendency to lose our center or be unbalanced. So in addition to movement and breathing and visualization, we can use sound and touch to help bring us back to center. We did a little tapping, kind of the idea with tapping. But using, we can do this standing or sitting. Let me think, what would be preferable? What do you guys feel like doing? Stand or sit? Let's sit. And then you can practice this either way, okay? Okay, so we're gonna start with the belly. Let's see if we might not have time, but we could just put our hands on the belly. So using touch, placing your hands right below your belly button. It'd be good to make sure that your feet are grounded and your spine is nice and straight, but you're relaxed. Your shoulders are relaxed. And then your hands on your hara.
So our
And
hands are placed just palms spread out this way.
let's see, can you see me?
Yes.
I'm sort of like making a, there we go. I'm sort of interlocking my fingers, my thumbs rather.
Okay.
So it's like I'm placing my one palm and then the other one right over it. And putting that right under my belly button. Right where the belly gets kind of poofed out, right? So you want to take a deep breath. It's like doing a chant of the who sound. So we go, but we extend that sound. So we can try this together. So take a deep breath and start the sound. Takes a little bit of practice. So you're basically creating a sort of a small space with your mouth. And you start with like a breathy, the H is a breathy sound, but you make the mouth a little small so that the who comes out. It creates that, but you want to focus on your hara when you do it. So you take a deep breath and feel that ball shrink slowly as you let out the who. We'll do one more. And just breathe into your belly. Feel if it feels a little more relaxed. Maybe you didn't feel the energy in the belly. Take some practice. Let's just go through these sounds and centers. We're going to come up to the heart center. Okay, right at the sternum bone, you can kind of place the one palm over the other, right on the heart, the lungs, the chest. Now, the mouth shape is a wide open. This is the most open mouth position, and the sound comes from the back of the throat. Okay, so the huh is at the end. So we start with the open. And your attention is on the chest area. We'll do 2 more. Feeling that vibration in the chest. And breathe into the heart center. And the head center, you just take your palms, but spread them so that they're on the right lobe and the left lobe of the brain. This is a totally closed mouth sound. So we had a totally open with the heart, halfway open with the belly, and totally closed with the head. So you could say it's like humming. We'll do 3 hums. So letting your attention come to the skull, the brain, the mind, the head. And then breathe into the head. Release the hands down. And just feel the 3 centers, the gut, the heart, and the head. Perfectly aligned in space, connected to each other, communicating with each other. Like there's this channel that goes right through them all, and they can all be related and connecting and communicating and sharing information, because the 3 centers all have a different job to do. Okay, so often if we get too caught in our head, we disconnect from our feelings, our emotions, or our sensations, right? Or we get too caught in our heart. We can be caught in our heart too, where we're not thinking straight or being reasonable. Because my feelings mean everything, and we just, our reason and rationality go out the window. And some people can be caught in their belly, where it's all about them and their space and their territory and their power and their, so all three of them, if they're not balanced, can have a way that is not very pleasant. And it's important that we catch it in ourselves when we get disconnected or unbalanced, unintegrated, uncentered. So if we had more time, which we don't, we can discuss this a little bit next week. I was thinking if we had more time, but we took time out at the beginning with our check-in. Maybe we'll start with this next time, but something to think about. So here's the practice on the calm days and you'll be calm on the difficult days. That's what the quote I was saying at the beginning, Sneha. So you could look this over and maybe we could just share some of our observations. Basically, I have noticed that we have a preference for one of these centers. We want to be in our heart all the time, or we want to be in our head all the time. We have a preference, or we are kind of, more driven by self-preservation, which would be more in the gut. I don't want to get too complicated about this, but just notice if you come up with just observing yourself that you kind of like one center more than the others. It's just a noticing thing, but the goal is that we have a balance of our three centers, that we have a good working brain, open heart, and we have the safety of being connected to our energy body, which is our center, our gut center, our power. Okay, there's our homework. And I lifted this off Facebook. I loved it. Energy is my first language. I understand it more than I do words. You might as well be who you really are because your vibe is going to tell me the truth anyways. To me, a gut type wrote this, because gut people are kind of more matter of fact, just spit it out, man. Head types are a little bit more on the fear side, and heart types are very passionate and into other people. So we all have different ways we lose our center, but this sounds like a grounded gut type to me. So after a while, you start to see it in movies, you see it in characters, you see it in your favorite authors that they may have predominant center and they use it in a good way. Does that make sense? I don't know if this is new information or old information for some of you. Does that make sense to y'all?
It makes sense.
Okay.
Good reminders. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All righty. So anything anybody wants to say before we say our goodbyes, our thank yous?
I just noticed that because of my stress, I could feel that I was less, I was more connected with my heart and my head. And I felt like my gut felt out of balance because I was not able to connect with the vibration there as much.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's the point of doing it, that sounding practice. And I want to ask you guys about that. Did the sounds work for you? Because some people don't get sounds, some people don't get like movement. So we all have our preferences too. So Sneha, I would recommend that you do the who sound, and maybe stand in a good strong stance, stand in who, kind of a warrior stance, and put your hands on your belly and do the who sound, and let us know how that goes.
I will. Okay. Thank you.
And
SueAnn?
also, yes.
I was just curious, when you say that we have a preference for the head, the heart, or the hara, what that looks like? Is it like a tendency or like a default type of relationship with that center?
It's a good word, default. It's sort of like a default position, maybe a proclivity you were born with, or maybe because of the family dynamic, you had to escape to your head, to books or something. I mean, there's theories about this, but there's kind of like a default position, yes. And it's really good to be conscious of that, right? So that we know that, we need to work on other things. Like when we get into elements, we start getting into elements the last 2 classes. We have a default element. Just more naturally fire or more naturally water, like that. That was really good. Good. That's a good way to put it, Laura.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So Sangeeta left. Bye, Sangeeta. Let's all bow out before we get too over time.
I haven't left. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Great. So we'll do our 2 bows and 4 claps. Okay. Oh. Domo arigato gozaimashita.
Domo arigato gozaimashita.
Almost forgot to say it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, SueAnn.
Okay. Take care.